On this week's episode of the Best of Johnston County podcast, I sit down with the Selma, North Carolina Mayor, Byron McAllister. We talk a little bit about how he grew up in New York, how he moved to Johnston County for the perfect house in 2017, his first run for office for the Selma Town Council in 2019, and when he became mayor after being elected in 2021. We talk a little bit about Eastfield development and the North State Food Hall and all the new retail shopping out there with the Hobby Lobby and the Marshalls. We also talk about all the different new and great restaurants and shops in downtown Selma, and it's not just antiques anymore, as well as his plan to continue polishing the town of Selma. Listen in, I think you will find it fascinating.
Welcome to another episode of Best of Johnston County, brought to you by Breeden Law Office. Our host, Jonathan Breeden, an experienced family lawyer with a deep connection to the community, is ready to take you on a journey through the area that he has called home for over 20 years. Whether it's a deep dive into the love locals have for the county or unraveling the complexities of family law, Best of Johnston County presents an authentic slice of this unique community.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Best of Johnston County podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden, and on today's episode, we are honored to have the Mayor of Selma, Byron McAllister, here to talk to us about all things Selma. You've heard me talk about Selma and the North State Food Hall, adventure development, the downtown, all the good things that I believe are happening in Selma. And I thought it would be great to reach out to the mayor so he could come tell us more firsthand what is happening in Selma. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do that, I would like to invite you to like, follow, or subscribe to this podcast wherever you see it, whether it be on Spotify, Apple iTunes, or any of our social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, that kind of stuff, wherever you see the Best of Johnston County podcast, so that you'll be aware of future episodes of Best of Johnston County podcast. Best Johnston County podcast comes out every single Monday, so be checking back. We've been doing it well over a year now. We've had a lot of great guests. Go back and listen to some of our previous guests, and we've got a lot of great guests coming up in the future, including the one you're listening to now with the Mayor of Selma. We have other elected officials coming and other business leaders. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we've really enjoyed bringing this to you. If you do us a favor of giving us a 5-star review down at the bottom, that will help us change our visibility out there so more people be aware of the Best of Johnston County podcast. And if you'll share it in your Instagram stories and tag the Best of Johnston County podcast, it'd be much appreciated. Welcome, Mayor.
Hey, how are you?
Good. We've met a couple times before. The first time I met you was at the economic development passing or sort of ribbon cutting of the new Be Good Foods coming to the adventure development maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Do Good Foods.
Good Foods, right. Yes. So anyway, that was really neat. At that time, I was on the economic development committee of the county with Chris Johnson. Mm-hmm. And so we worked on all of those projects where people would get incentives, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the 2 years I spent on that committee. And so we came to Selma, and that was the first big building that went under contract in adventure development. So anyway, so I'm glad you were willing to come out here and talk to us. So before we get into all that, just tell the audience who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Yeah. Byron McAllister, Mayor of Selma, North Carolina. I am originally from New York City. Found my way down to North Carolina with my family when I was young. Spent some time in Greensboro, North Carolina. Spent some time in Raleigh. Ended up in Cary, North Carolina with my wife for 15 years. And then she found a house in Selma, North Carolina that she had to have. We moved with my then 2 children to Selma, North Carolina, and then added 2 more after we got the house that she dreamed of.
Okay.
And so after that, got involved in the community. We got to Selma Elementary School and realized they didn't have any type of fully functioning parent organization. And we decided to form one with our oldest going to elementary school there, and ended up meeting a lot of people in the community. And the more people I met, I started getting this weird question about, have you ever thought about running for town council? No, not at all. But after about the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th person asked me, and then the then police chief at the time at a council meeting, because I started attending these meetings to understand what was happening, Billy Thomas, then police chief, asked, hey, man, I think you'd be good for this community. Have you ever thought about running for council? And, somebody like that has given their life to a community to that extent, I thought about it. I ran and was elected in 2019. 2 years later, everybody said, you need to go ahead and run for mayor. I ran and was elected in 2021, and now we're rolling.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you moved to Selma in 2017.
2017.
And then you're elected to the council in 2019.
Yes, sir.
Most people don't, in 2 years, become so involved in the community that the citizens elect them to the town council.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's about the only person I've ever known that could show up in a community and get elected in 2 years. That's kind of amazing.
It was, well, from my perspective as a parent of a young family, it's foolish, but it's been fantastic. Really, again, I didn't even realize that Cary, North Carolina had a town council when I was there. Didn't pay attention to that political spectrum whatsoever. But it has been an eye-opening experience. It has been a rewarding experience. I'm never going to be a huge fan of politics itself, but I am a fan of the results.
Right. Well, I mean, that's cool. And I think you do some financial planning as a part-time, and being mayor of Selma is a lot.
I do have to make money outside of being the mayor of Selma, North Carolina. Right. The mayor of Selma, North Carolina, I think right now my salary is $6,500 a year. So, that's something that everybody has to understand about all of the mayors in Johnston County is right now, the amount of growth that's coming in Johnston County, it's a full-time job for every mayor. But they have other jobs, or they've had other jobs that have sustained their living.
Right.
And it's a very different thing. So it really is. When you see a mayor, that is civil service.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So do you work for yourself or do you work for a company?
I do work for myself.
Okay.
Yes,
what's the name of that company?
The actual LLC is, it was listed under James McFallon LLC, but it's just an LLC.
Okay.
But again, I tell everybody, it's never about the individual when it comes to being a mayor. As a mayor, I am also taking on an office that has been around since the inception of the town of Selma.
Right.
So, previously Mayor Cheryl Oliver, she's the mayor of Selma. It's not about Cheryl Oliver. Right. It's about the mayor of Selma, and I'm just taking on that mantle now.
Right. So when you ran for the town council in 2019, what did you believe you needed to do? What were you going to add? What were some of the issues you wanted to address?
Yes. I had no idea.
You had no idea?
Yeah, no idea. What I saw as a person running for council was that there was a beautiful community that had the perfect geography, that something wasn't going right. So I had no idea at the time on what I could have because I didn't know enough about the actual nuts and bolts of the government to have an idea. I knew that people said they wanted to see activity in downtown. They wanted to be able to go shopping in their community without having to drive to Goldsboro or Garner. And they wanted to get back to a place where people knew their neighbor and their neighbor cared about taking care of their community. And that's what I knew as far as council is concerned. Nuts and bolts of government, no idea.
You had no idea. So when you get on to the council, I know just from living here and following local government, you come into a town that is sort of hemorrhaging money. It's spending more money than it's bringing in. It's dipping into its fund balance to pay its bills. How quickly did you figure that out? I mean, probably in the first budget meeting you went to,
immediately.
Or you could have read the newspaper.
In fact, before that, when I was councilman-elect is when I was really deep into the historical books. And I figured that out immediately, that we had a significant financial problem. And there was almost a misunderstanding of the role of government in the community. Absolutely. So immediately we figure out we're hemorrhaging money and that we're on a path at that point in time to continue hemorrhaging money, not unless we change direction.
So what did y'all do? I mean, you were on the council for 2 years and you become mayor. What did you and the council do to change that direction? Because now you're saving money every year. And just 4, 5, 6 years ago, you were losing $1 million, $2 million a year going into your savings just to pay the bills, which is not sustainable. Well, so y'all clearly made some big changes.
We did. And, I think on average, it was probably around $400,000 or so a year that we were really dipping in. We had a couple of years where it was a huge number, but on average, around $400,000 or so. The first thing was stop spending money on things we can't sustain. So a pool was something that was a big hot button topic at the time. We had decided to renovate an old pool in the community, and it would cost us about $65,000 for a summer to run that pool. We had memberships come in for the first year of revenue for $10,000. So that's a $55,000 loss on a pool. With that, we were having conversations about renovating the old, I believe it was the old BB&T building, very old BB&T building, old bank building at the corner of Rayford Street and Anderson Street in Selma, North Carolina. And my personal view is there's no way we can do that. We don't have the money to renovate a building like that. We need to find a private entity who is interested in doing something fantastic with that building. And that's what we did. Little things like that, understanding that government should not necessarily be a developer, but government should be a foundation for the developer, was an important cultural change that was needed in Selma, North Carolina.
With no doubt about that. And then, I mean, I guess it didn't help. It didn't hurt that adventure development and all of the development with the old North State Food Hall and that part of Selma on that exit 97 over on the other side of 95 started to build up, which probably added to your tax base a little bit as well.
Well, initially, no, because again, that whole buildup of that development just happened a few months ago. So initially, the whole Adventure Development Eastfield project had been spinning its wheels, partly because government did not understand that we need to put the foundational things in place first so that a developer can come and build on top of it. So our biggest conversations were getting our infrastructure in line to support an Eastfield and adventure development. They couldn't do anything unless the infrastructure was in place to get going to build.
So what did the town do to help with that infrastructure?
So first of all, it wasn't what the town did. It was what the state of North Carolina did. Representative Strickland, Senator Sarre, Representative White, Representative Penny, they all came together and said, or we asked them to help us get our infrastructure in line to support that project. Because one of the biggest issues on getting that project going was, where is your water and sewer coming from?
It's always water and sewer. Always. It's always water and sewer.
And we did not have the money, quite frankly, and we didn't have the wherewithal also to figure out what needed to be done to support the start and growth of that development. So, a mayor has to go with his hat in his hand and go to the legislature and say, hey, we got a problem. Can you help us?
Right. And the legislature did. And I think you ended up moving one of the sewage pumps as well that was going to help.
We will be moving.
Or will be moving that.
A sewage pump that's on the other side of the community, which will help all of Selma.
Right.
But we ended up getting money to build a significant water loop to go around Eastfield, significant sewer infrastructure to go into Eastfield to connect to Selma's existing infrastructure and increase our water capacity significantly to support the new development and make sure the old development didn't lose water pressure while the new came.
Oh, well, that's great. That's great. And so currently the old North State Food Hall is now open. It is in what was JR's.
That's right.
And it's really good. And Mr. Outrageous, I just can't not eat enough Mr. Outrageous. So if you get a chance with that food truck or go to Ordinance Food Stores, those are the best burgers I've ever eaten in my life. I mean, it's just unbelievable. There's a lot of great, and they're always changing there at the food hall. Some vendors come, some people go, but that's there. And then I guess now they finally opened up some of the retail on the other side.
Yeah.
Hobby Lobby's open now. There's a sports store.
So let's see, Hobby Lobby, Academy Sports, Ulta, Five Below, Old Navy, Ross Dress for Less, Marshalls. Ooh, am I missing one? If I am missing one, folks, please don't shoot me. I'll make sure we get the list out proper later. But yes, a full shopping center with more coming over this next year and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And all of those stores have opened in the last 6 months, I believe.
Yeah, they all opened around October, November.
Yeah, and I've been over there, and it's really neat. And one of the things you and I were talking about off camera is now it is a lot closer and easier to access for a lot of Johnstonians than going to White Oak, which is I-48 exit 306.
Benson, it's quicker to get to Selma now than it is to get to White Oak from Benson. So in our conversations with developers who were interested in Selma and saying, hey, are we going to bring this shopping center to Selma, we're not a town of 7,000 anymore. We're a region of 40,000 plus. So when you have your Benson, your Four Oaks, your Micro, your Kinley, Princeton, Pine Level, Wilson's Mills, and a large portion of Clayton that now can come this way instead of going the other way toward Garner, you have changed the conversation completely. You are keeping tax dollars in Johnston County because those pretty essential shops now are available in Johnston County.
Well, and the other important part is a portion of your sales tax the county gets in North Carolina. I don't know if everybody realizes that, but usually it's about 2 cents on the sales tax the county gets. So if you can buy, and I've promoted this as part of the reason I started this podcast, was sort of buy local. You don't have to go to Wake County for hardly anything. And now you have these sort of core top 50 retail
National
stores.
chains.
Right. These are national
Right
chains. I mean, that are everywhere and that are providing good prices and stuff people need. And you're right. And when I need those, I often would go to White Oak. But, now, we can go to them at Selma. Same store, same stuff.
That's right.
Just now going to be in Selma right next to I-95, which is great. The other part of eventual development, other than this shopping centers, is the industrial part.
Yes.
They built one building or two now?
They've built one building.
One building is built, and it is, that was the building I worked on when I was on the Economic Development Committee. We were there for the ribbon cutting when I met you. And is it 100,000 square feet?
100,000 square feet.
I think it's 100,000 square feet.
It might be larger, but
right.
Around
yeah, right. And at the time, the county offered incentives to Adventure Development to allow them to get that building built. And the county said, okay, if we don't have a buyer or a leaser by the time it's built, the county will help make that lease payment for a couple of years. That allowed them to get the funding to build the building. I was convinced when I had told the commissioners I thought this was a good idea that somebody would take that building before it got finished. That's exactly what happened. And it was Be Good,
Do Good Foods.
Do Good Foods.
Yeah, Do Good Foods.
Right. But now, and they process leftover grocery foods.
And I'm not sure if they still do that because they filed for bankruptcy.
And now they have sort of not, right. They're not going to take it, but somebody else is.
So VT Foods is now leased to that building. And I believe they're going to start bringing in equipment probably this month. They hope to be operational by July. So VT Foods is a rice company that is based in the UK. And they have several products in several Walmarts in the United States right now. To supply the demand for the United States, they need now a local production hub, which will be in Selma, North Carolina.
And they're going to make rice.
Rice products, little portable rice products, things like that. So you throw it in the microwave, you open it up, rice.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's how I eat rice because I don't really know how to cook it in the pot.
The Walmart here in Clayton, North Carolina has VT Food products in their rice aisle.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. And then there's a plan to build several more industrial buildings beside that one. Yeah. Is another one under construction now?
So Crystal Windows is going to build their own manufacturing facility, doors and windows. They're a company, I believe, out of New York. They're going to build an approximate, when it's fully built out, 500,000 square foot industrial building.
That's a big building.
That is a big building. And I believe Adventure Development is working on what they call Building 200, which will be approximately 150,000 square feet as well.
Well, and that's awesome. And for people that don't realize, the railroad goes through there. And part of one of the things that the legislature worked with the railroad is that they're going to build a spur.
Yeah.
There.
Senator Benton Sare was huge on getting money to build the spur. $800,000 to build a spur into that industrial park so that industrial offerings can put their stuff right on the rail and send it wherever.
And that is so huge to be able to put it right on the rail. And then that railroad goes all the way to New York and Maine and to Florida and everywhere else.
California.
And so that's right. I mean, so that's another huge get for, you already had the railroad there, but to get the spur so that these companies could just put it right on the train is massive for Selma and for Johnston County. Because what's good for Selma is good for Johnston County, which is good for everybody. And that's what we want to do.
Have family law questions? Need guidance to navigate legal challenges? The compassionate team at Breeden Law Office is here to help. Visit us at www.breedenfirm.com for practical advice, resources, or to book a consultation. Remember, when life gets messy, you don't have to face it alone.
Let's talk a little bit about the downtown. Mm-hmm. It is being revitalized. I talk about it on all kinds of episodes of this. Tell the listeners, some of the businesses that are there. I know there's a guy that does popcorn and it's phenomenal. What are some of the businesses that are down there? Because Selma's known for antiques, but it's got more than antiques now.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, as a town, we are kind of veering away from that antique piece and saying, hey, we've got unique shops that you can find anything you might want in downtown Selma. So let's see the list of shops there. You've got the Southern Bostonian, which has the Harvard Yard Cafe inside of it. You've got Coffee on Rayford. You've got the general stores there. You've got old-fashioned ice cream. Ooh, you've got a new tattoo shop down there now. You've got, I believe it's called Wagger's Dog Grooming. We've got Hanky Panky Soap and Farm Company. the Quantum Toad, which is a fantastic swanky bar in downtown Selma. The Alley Bar, which is kind of more of your awesome dive bar in downtown Selma. You've got the Vault by Hatchet Brewing, which is a brewery that is in downtown Selma. Of course, HCR has its home office in downtown Selma, or one of its home offices in downtown Selma as well. Deja Vu Thrift is in downtown Selma. On Beat Drum Ministry in downtown Selma. Of course, the staple and anchor that has been there forever, Selma Jewelry in downtown Selma. The list goes on and on. In fact, now that I think about it, I was like, what am I missing? Pixie Dust Lunchbox and Bakery is in downtown Selma. Just infinite numbers of things in downtown Selma right now, and more coming as we speak.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, to see all those businesses and there's still a couple of antiques places there too. They're not gone.
Trackside Antique is still there. Treasury Antique is still there. You've got Barn Shelter Antiques is there as well. And I think there's an antique shop that was in Benson that will be moving into Selma over the next few months from what I've heard. That antique piece is there as well. And again, to have all of that in one space means that you can find something for everybody. Hidden Temple Toys is in downtown Selma. So while you're being able to go into our social district, have a drink, do some antique and thrift shopping, your kids can run by the toy store and into your pocket as well.
Well, and if you walk about a block off of Main Street, you can go to the revamped train station. They just spent, I don't know how much money, and I don't know if the town did it, but somebody spent a bunch of money, and that train station looks like something straight out of the 1900s. It is authentic.
Yeah.
You would think you have gone back in time,
Yes, sir.
and I'm a huge trainee kind of guy, if that's a word, and they've really done a great job.
Yeah.
I mean, they really have.
Representative Strickland has been huge on making sure that we could maintain that train station. We just redid a copper roof on that train station with help from the state as well. That has been help that started probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and we're just now getting to completing that project. The town has thrown in a significant amount of investment into cleaning up that front lot, cleaning up the area around it to give it that old school, this is a beautiful old classic train station feel. And then with that, we've had just the community come together, the civic engagement related to helping clean up some of these areas. You've got groups like your Activate Selma, who's coming to Selma. You've got the Lions Club in Selma. You've got the American Legion in Selma. You've got the local schools now all coming together to make something fantastic happen in Selma, North Carolina.
Yeah, well, and in case you don't know, the train does stop in Selma, and you can get on that train and go wherever you want to go. The Amtrak, I don't know how many days a week it stops there, but it does stop there, and you can get on it.
I believe every day it stops there, and you can get on it, and you can take a quick trip down to Raleigh for not too much dollars at all, get right back on the train and head back to Selma. And it is something that, again, geographically, people don't realize how amazing that train line is coming not only east to west, but north to south at Selma, North Carolina. That is a rare happening for a train station, and that happens here in Johnston County in Selma, North Carolina.
Well, I have not done that. My wife and kids have taken the train from Selma to Raleigh as it was part of a school trip thing, or my wife and one of my kids did that a few years ago and had the best time. And I ended up having to be in Raleigh in court that day anyway. So I met them at what was the fairly new train station then there in Raleigh at Union Station. And they had so much fun riding that train. Yeah. And, that's an experience. I remember riding the train as a kid and stuff like that. And I think it's just right. I think people realize that you can literally get on the train in Selma. It stops there and it goes all over the place. Yeah. So that's also good. So one of the other things I know you have worked on is you've increased the policing and you've tried to be big on customer service. I mean, that seems to be your thing, just making the town more customer friendly. Talk a little bit about that.
So first of all, the police piece. There was a point in time when we first moved into Selma where I came across 4 police officers in one vehicle because all the other vehicles were broken down. That is a crime in itself to have happen in a community. So the very first thing we ventured into is making sure that they were equipped. Take-home cars. So that means every patrol officer has a car that they can take to their house and then come straight into town and go to work instead of having to stop by the station and figure out what car they're driving. Make sure that they have every single piece of weaponry for safety that they might possibly need. And then beyond that, more police officers. So I believe my first understanding of the police department, we had 16 officers on duty, which is not enough for the amount of things going on in the town of Selma. I believe we're around 22 right now on staff, and we are going to make a significant push in this coming fiscal year to get that closer to 30 officers on staff with the town of Selma. Customer service piece, tears for me. Safety is always number one. Safety is first. I tell everybody, if bullets are flying over your head, nothing else matters. After that, if your house is on fire, nothing else matters. And then after that, if you can't flush your toilet, nothing else matters. But that's how the tiers of what you need in service from your community go. And so I want to make sure that those pieces of, quite frankly, what are customer service pieces are in place. And then beyond that, you go into town hall and you've got a friendly face who will help you through paying your bill. You've got a friendly face that'll help you understand garbage collection. You've got a friendly face that is there to actually collect your garbage on time when you expect it every single week. Those very basic things, if we can't handle that as government, we certainly can't handle the big things like providing infrastructure for crystal windows. Absolutely.
Right. Well, and I mean, I know that has been one of the things you've been working on. I've heard people talk about how much better it has gotten under your administration and how much more effective just going to town hall is and how nice they are. Where are y'all at right now for town manager? I know you had one. He was there for 8 weeks, wasn't the right fit. Have you gotten a new one?
No, we have not gotten one yet. Philip McDaniel, our fire chief, has been our interim town manager probably for, we might be going on a year and a half now.
Okay.
And he has been absolutely amazing. I tell everybody something has been unlocked in Philip McDaniel to where he is just handling that business like it's nobody's business. And he's one of those guys where he's not actually interested in being town manager, but he wants to make sure that the best is happening for Selma, North Carolina. We have gone through an interview process over the last probably 2 months or so for town manager. We might have some announcements over the next month or so about filling that position. But quite frankly, we have been in no rush because, again, we found if you are in a rush, you don't get what you need.
Well, Philip McDaniel is one of the nicest people you will ever meet.
Nice.
And he's won about every award there is to win. And yeah, and you're right. I did not know he was the interim town manager.
He is.
So
he's been doing it for a while. And that's why the ship has been so smooth, is that you've got somebody that understands the system, has been there for a long time. He practically built our current fire department, and people don't fully seem to grasp that concept that this man came in with a volunteer fire department and turned it into a municipal fire department. He has just been running, quite frankly, staff seamlessly in the background, and that has made it easier so that government can turn its attention to being government.
So we're recording this in early January 2025, probably come out February, March of 2025 by the time we get it edited and get it out there. What do you want to see Selma do in the next 12 to 18 months? What are some of the things people can see? They're going to see, venture development's going to continue with what they're doing. What other things are people going to be able to see in the next 12 to 18 months in Selma?
We are on our polish phase right now. And by polish, I mean that every corner gets pristine. So quite frankly, with our sanitation operations, we have been going at that now for a little over a year and a half, coming on 2 years. And I want that operation to become a clockwork machine, that people know that my garbage truck is going to come past my house in the next 15 minutes and that my curb is going to be cleaned up when they're done. With that, the polish of a police department that the response time is faster and faster. We do have, I'll tell you, the best fire department in Johnston County. I'll put our fire department up against any department in this country. Their response time is absurd. I want to see our finance piece become more pristine so that every single question that a customer has can be answered immediately at the window. It doesn't even have to be hey, I don't know right now, but I'll get back to you. Polish in every piece of customer service operation that we have. That's what you're going to see in the next 12 to 18 months in the town of Selma. Beyond that, you're going to see a cleanup of some of these dilapidated houses, some of the things where code enforcement hasn't been done in decades. Code enforcement is going to be wide open over the next 12 to 18 months for that polish piece in Selma, North Carolina.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. What are y'all going to do about the on-street parking? I know there's some debate whether you're going to ban it, allow it.
We haven't given it much thought, to be honest with you, because it's not a problem right now. Now, do we have a plan in place if it becomes a problem? Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, 2-hour parking is a standard thing in every single town, but until we actually have a problem that needs to be addressed, we don't need to cause a problem if there's no problem there. Okay. So the idea is to be proactive in it, thinking is have a plan in place if this happens. If it's not happening, don't force anything because there's no need to work on a problem that doesn't exist.
All right. The last question we ask everybody on this podcast, what do you love most about Johnston County?
Selma, North Carolina. The crossroads of tradition and innovation. The best town on earth. I love Selma. I love the fact that in Johnston County, as a mayor, I have great communication with our county commissioners, great communication with our legislative representatives, not only on the state level, but the federal level. We have something in Johnston County that I believe not many areas have in this country. We have a tight-knit group who wants to see success for the county, not just their little corner, but the entire county as a whole. I might love Selma, North Carolina the most, but I'm not going to do anything that's going to destroy Smithfield, North Carolina either, because Smithfield's my buddy.
Right.
We might go up against each other in a little fight here and there once in a while.
Yeah, every once in a while.
And I tell Andy all the time, I said, all those people are going to be coming to Eastfield, and then they might get bored after they get everything they need and stop by Smithfield as well. But we want that rising tide to go for all the ships.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, we'd like to thank the mayor, Byron McAllister of Selma, for coming on to today's podcast. If you like what he had to say, give us some comments down below. We'll make sure he gets them about it. If people want to get in touch with you, how do they reach out to you?
Shoot, you can have my cell phone number if you want. Hey, watch this. 919-622-5100. You can shoot me a text. You can give me a call. If you say something silly, I'll just block you. No big deal. B McAllister, BMCALLISTER at selma-nc.com. You can call Town Hall and get in touch with one of our administrative assistants, customer service, and they'll reach out to me just the same. I am an easy guy to get in touch with. If you have had a moment where you can't get in touch with me, you weren't trying.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So if you have any questions about what's going on in Selma or want to know any more about investing in Selma or anything like that, reach out to the mayor. Also, give us a 5-star review down below. Like and follow this podcast wherever you see it so that more people be aware of the Best of Johnston County podcast. Until next week, I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden.
That's the end of today's episode of Best of Johnston County, a show brought to you by the trusted team at Breeden Law Office. We thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to sharing more interesting facets of this community next week. Every story, every viewpoint adds another thread to the rich tapestry of Johnston County. If the legal aspects highlighted raise some questions, help is just around the corner at www.breedenfirm.com.